Hello everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street. We got a quant video here on our radar. Guys, this one is very heavily involved in CBDC projects around the world, but particularly, as we know, with the Digital Pound Foundation here in the UK, the task force created last year, arguably headed by our Finance Minister, Sunak, and something that is progressing quite fast. Can't go into massive detail right now. I'm hoping to try and do a bit of a more open video about this in a few days' time. We've got speaking with someone quite high up in, I can't really mention the specific companies, but these guys are very much in line with like Swift and slightly above that in the sense of the way of the processing of finance around the world, the ability to switch on and off certain banks or certain governments from utilizing cash or money. And it was absolutely amazing to have this conversation off the cusp, really. One of those things, it's not what you know, it's who you know sometimes. But yeah, it was very much around the interesting narrative of CBDCs and how powerful these are going to be moving forward. And there are a multitude of articles out there, suggesting that I think even here on the World Economic Forum here, 4 cybersecurity threats to the new central bank digital currencies. Very interesting read. But there's also articles here about, the amount of cryptocurrency. I mean, look here. There's way more than 10,000 right now. In fact, let's just have a quick look, actually. Because I remember when I first started in, early 2020, we had, 6,000, 7,000. I mean, look at that. There are now 18,651 different cryptocurrencies. We've got to bear in mind that a lot of those could be gaming tokens, meme coins, loads of different projects, layer 1, layer 2, layer 3 solutions, and then general blockchain and things like that. So there's a really big mix of stuff in there. Loads of different protocols and metaverse projects, all of this cool stuff. The market caps that is way over the $2 trillion mark now. It's absolutely mental. So even these have, I think, come down quite a bit. Bitcoin's dominance in Ethereum. But my point being, going back to this article, they have a really big specific point that there's the lack of cash now, the decline of cash. Even back in 2020, look, Bank of England reported that just 17% of all UK payments were made in cash. Really interesting. Of course, we went digitalized anyway. A lot of tap and go and cashless payments were occurring for a number of years now. I've been using that for a long time, really, maybe 5 years or something, maybe longer. And I think more and more people are used to that. And I always remember having conversations with people 2-3 years ago saying it's a conspiracy theory that cashless society was coming, and my grandparents or parents will never go to digital payments or use a debit card, blah blah blah. And I said, look, no matter what you think about that, the force will come. The force will come. We had COVID-19, whatever. But it's basically the speed up of so many different processes, DIDs, cashless society, and many other things. The way we do health, the way we do meetings, the travel, all of this stuff, conveniently pushed us to a different way of living, different way of working, lifestyles, balance, all of these things. So to see that already back in a couple of years ago, and now where we are today, they're saying here that 80% of central banks are actively exploring the case of central bank issued digital currencies. So in April 21, the Bank of England announced the joint creation. We talked about that Digital Pound Foundation and big heavy links with the World Economic Forum. I always talk about the World Economic Forum to people, and people think I'm talking out of my rear end. They think that I'm just making things up and this is a conspiracy theory. It doesn't exist. And I'm like, go and do your research. The World Economic Forum exists. Schwab exists. They all exist. In fact, just last week, I believe, they had the World Government Summit, basically making all the decisions for us. Forget the governments, forget the politicians. Honestly, people, please understand there is no such thing as democracy anymore. There is no such thing as a real voting system anymore, because they are just the puppets that are endearing to the people above them. That's how life works. When you work for a business or a company, you're working for other people in a triangular system. It is no different to the way the world works. Okay, and I'm talking about leadership here. So this has to come from a consortium of very heavy-minded people. I'm not going to lie. I'm not saying that these people are bad people. What I'm saying is there are people above and beyond your governments and politicians making the decisions of how the world should be. And do you know what makes people do things? That makes people react? Money. Balancing everything. Equally, they do in the World Economic Forum and the Agenda 30 program talk decisively and sporadically about all the different avenues of Agenda 30. We're talking about sustainability, diversification, the way the world's going. You can see it. You can see it all over the world right now. The divide between people, the arguments, the opinions, what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. And right, in my mind, within regulation and law, you should be able to be who you want to be. Absolutely. And these are all parts of the world's situation right now in terms of what they're trying to push for. And some of it may go right, some of it may go wrong. We're all human at the end of the day. Even these people are human at the end of the day. But they're all coming together. The humongous powerhouse within these people alone. The amount of money that these people have. The amount of money that these people control. These guys are the ones that are making the decisions, not your politicians and government. So as soon as people realize that and understand, like, most of this is a complete waste of time and there's a bigger system, you then start understanding what you should be investing in, because this is the stuff that's coming. This is the stuff that will win. This you cannot stop. You cannot stop this system coming. I say coming, it's been here since a long time ago. I think the World Economic Forum started a long time ago, decades ago. The Agenda 21 program that everyone thought was a conspiracy theory was out in play. 2015, 160 countries signed the document for the Agenda 30 program, the targeting list. Most of the CBDC projects here, they have deadlines of 2025. It needs to be in place for 5 years in time for 2030. This is the plan. And look at this. Bang on the Forum, World Economic Forum. This is the CBDC state of play. Okay? So some of this data might even be like a year out. But look at this. This is everyone in play right now. CBDCs looking at things. Wholesale projects already taking place. Okay? Retail research, retail pilot completed, retail pilot ongoing, live retail CBDC. There are a couple here. Why do you think this is happening with the smaller countries? Why do you think they are already live with systems? Because they're testing and trialing. Why, 3-4 years ago, was I seeing articles that some places in Africa were trialing 3 or 4 day weeks? They don't go, the whole UK, the US or China or whatever, don't go all of a sudden, oh, by the way, we're going to trial a load of 3 or 4 days. They trial it in smaller areas first, right? And then they project it outwards. But ask yourself, and it's all the answers are in the World Economic Forum website. Who makes these decisions? The governments don't sit there and go, yes, today, Boris, I'd like to discuss doing 3 or 4 days a week for our people. Doesn't come from them. It doesn't come from them. It comes from the above, because these guys have a systematic approach, knowledge, research, analysis, data for a multitude of decades of how people behave, how things work and don't work, to then go, actually, we might get more productivity if we do this. My point being, part of this big conversation, the World Economic Forum, and you'll see it a lot in the Davos agenda. When I talk about Davos agenda, this is the actual conference going on with the World not necessarily sponsored, but actually created by the World Economic Forum, coming up in a month or two. Every year it's on. Obviously, the last couple of years have been virtual, but I believe this is a hybrid one, so you can or cannot go if you don't want to, or do want to. But they're like $400,000 a ticket or something. So this is like for the rich people to understand what's coming, and also have a place on the panels, on the organizations and the conversations to decide what our future is. And what I mean by our future, I mean the 99% of people around the world that go around thinking that they're voting for something when they're not, that continuously see narratives on their news channels that, just simply have a double meaning, most of them. And you have to literally sit back sometimes and just understand what's going on And absolutely, you can't go too down the rabbit holes. You just spend your whole entire life worrying. What I'm suggesting, and have been doing since 2015 myself, when I first heard about universal digital currencies, basic universal income, own nothing and be happy. These are all things coming. You can't stop them. So you try and live your life the best you can, but equally I go, oh, well, I'm going to just make money off this, because you got two choices. You go into the system and you do that, and then you complain about it for the rest of your life, or you go, actually, I'd like a way out here, please, and I'm going to go down the route I'm going to go down. That's why I'm in the crypto space, the decentralized space, because I hope some of that will win. But for sure, I will guarantee to you right now, CBDC systems will control the entire world. They will control every single individual in this world, one way or another. And if you don't comply, you're out of the system. Simple as that. There are already over 2 billion people unbankable. So we're going back to the topic here of CBDCs. Quant is a big part of this behind it, the DLT systems. And I think it's absolutely fascinating, especially the conversations I had with this guy the other day. And it's just not a random person. I actually know him, and where he works and stuff. And I was literally absolutely not even speechless, because I knew half of it anyway. But I was it was a confirmation, and it was just this is serious. This is literally all this coding team. Everyone is literally every day, constantly solidifying the network around the world for everyone, for every banking system, every government system, to be on a central bank digital currency formality. And I think it's absolutely amazing. More of an admiration, really, not just of these guys, of Quant, of Digital Pound Foundation, of the world, the whole thing. I think it's absolutely amazing that people have not even recognized this is going on, unless you're in the space, or you're watching videos like this, or you do your own research. You're not going to know about any of this. Maybe 90% of the population don't care. They just like being told what to do, or just go along with stuff. But I don't want to do that anymore. I want to not go down part of this route. I think it's crazy. It's already a crazy world. Why on earth do we want to make it even worse for ourselves? But this is the way it's going. So you have to be open-minded. And, for sure, Quant is going to be a giant in the background towards this mechanism. Let us know in the comments what you think about that. What do you think about Quant as well? What do you think about CBDCs? What are your pros and cons? What are your concerns and your positivity towards CBDCs? I want to hear them all. I want to hear everything, because I like to learn. And I don't ever say my opinion is absolutely correct. I respect everyone's opinion. Sometimes you don't agree with it, but you have to respect it, right? That's what our forefathers died in the world wars for, right? Because we have the right of speech, the right of opinions. I want to know everything from everyone. So let us know what you think about all of that. Guys, I'm going to jump into Quant's chart because that also is quite interesting. Some people always say to me, oh, Quant looks really expensive. I'm like, well, there's two ways to look at it. Is it expensive compared to where I think it will be in the future? No. I do generally think this, in my opinion, this could be like a $10,000 token in, I'm not talking about tomorrow or next year. In the foreseeable future, maybe 5 to 10 years time, I could see it going that way for sure, because of its power, because of what it's doing, because of who it's with and what it's working on. And if we are going down the route of 2025 being the time where CBDCs get switched on, what do you think is going to win out of that? It's going to be the technologies behind it, the systems behind it. Okay, it's like Visa, MasterCard, Swift, all these companies in the background, Ripple itself. So the argument as well I always make as well is gains. Some people focus too much on value. If I go and buy, this is common sense stuff, but if you're new, you understand, or might not understand. So that's why I talk about it. If you're going into Bitcoin and you're like, oh, I want to put money into Bitcoin, obviously you can trade it daily or whatever, and make money that way. But a lot of people go, oh, they just see the value and they go, oh, it's 60,000, I'm going to put money in. But obviously to double your money from where it's currently at of 40-odd thousand, you obviously need to get to 80,000. And that's absolutely possible. Absolutely. But, do do you want to be looking at more opportunities? So when I'm looking at like Quant, you can actually see some really good percentage increases in short space of time, like you can with any other token. But it doesn't mean you have to go and buy one whole Quant, right? You might have like £20, but you're going to see probably a quicker reaction to get to those kind of gain areas. And for me, it's all about gains. I'm fortunate that I purchased a load of Quant back down here at the $87 odd mark. And we did indeed get back to that 160. I took out my initial investment because it had doubled the position. And that was simple as that. And I will, if it comes down at certain areas, be very interested in buying back into it. So of which right now, we're currently floating our price point for Quant around $140. Okay, so we're matching a couple of positions. Some that we saw back here in February, which was too volatile to even decide whether it's support or resistance. And this area here, this is even more interesting to me because this is back in August last year, and it defines a resistance level. It plowed through very quickly through this area in August, and it came back down, and it literally stopped, and it smashed upwards again. Look at that big tail up. This is the target, by the way, guys, hopefully for this year, maybe just beyond that to get to. And we're slowly but surely making our way back up. But again, and I will reiterate like I've done in many of the Quant videos, there is still a lack of data even around this area. It might look strong, but there is you have to analyze it as it is. Okay, so we're currently floating around this particular area. This is an interesting area for me because it might be an area of resistance that takes us up further as we are moving into a bit of a bullish momentum. Okay, so we're already hitting the target areas that we put way back in a few videos when we were on the way down as areas of position to dollar cost average my way down, of which I did. And then I went mad down at these areas. This is where I had a buyers. We even had a lower area of trying to purchase down here at 65. It just didn't happen. But that was based on data. Okay, that's not to say it would definitely not come down to there. But it's quite clear that Quant was strong enough to hold that position. And actually, there is an argument to say that if you followed the trend line properly from these areas, we're pretty much were bang on with where we were supposed to be. Okay, so I'm just going to put it actually where it's supposed to be. Where's my line here? There we go, sorry. So we're actually getting into a good area. So what I want to reflect on right now is the areas of buying downwards. I'm not saying that it's going to continue to go down, but I'm doing the planning. Okay, someone always asked me the other day, oh, you keep saying that you put in buy positions in, but it just goes up. Well, that's the whole point of the game. Obviously, I want it to go up, but equally, I want to try and get more without putting my money in. So this is why I do this, areas of interest. So we're already at a relatively good area of support at the moment over the last few days. For me to go, okay, I'm going to put a small percentage in. But my next percentage down is going to be down here because it's just slightly above these June areas, but it's also around areas of the bottom areas down here, which we got failed, and we managed to resist and pull it back up. We tried it back down here, it stopped, and we've tailed ourselves back up since then. So that's why I'm leaving a lower area down here towards the $100 mark, just in case. But because of the difference in big value here, there is also an opportunity to perhaps try and drag some further down. So now I'm already out that area where I am. I'm looking now at possibly around the 126, 127 area. If they hit, they hit. Fantastic. If they don't, they don't. Whatever. I'm still making money off this thing. So that's where I'm going with Quant. Where could Quant be going if it goes the other way? So I'm going to appease some of the people that were asking those kind of questions, like if it's not coming down, where is it going? Well, obviously it's going in an upward direction, but where's going to be our interesting points? If you missed this area previously, this is obviously going to be a good area to start with. Not just because I'm just pointing out that it's hit this area recently, and that's just an easy target, but also back at these areas. And back to my point of resistance. Look at that. Resistance back here in December. We failed support back here in the 18th of January. And here again. So this is going to be a very interesting area of coming up. So this could be another sell area if you missed the previous one a few days back. But if we do penetrate that area and get some support, then you're looking at probably around that top area of 168 again, which literally tails in with all the volatility levels around here in November and January respectively, and back here in August as well. So that's my first line. In the long run, If you're asking me in the long run, absolutely, I want to be taking some around the $200 mark, but usually I take some just before it in case it becomes resistance, and slightly above it as well. But if you look, I'm not doing it just for the fun of it. I'm also doing it because, look at this, volatility, resistance initially, and then went completely bonkers in that period of time. But on the way down, it was there. So we're going to get a lot of traction psychologically anyway, because 200 is a rounded number, and that's where it is. In the future, and by the way, guys, this is really interesting. When you're in these like fast upward movements or movements going up, it is always a good idea to start thinking. It doesn't mean you have to concrete them, but start thinking about your strategy of sell-offs in the future, just in case they come about. I'm not saying that in this actual year we might get up to these heights. I do believe we will, but it's always good to start pre-planning them and start pre-planning your percentages that you want to take out as well. So remember these fib retracement levels that we drew in previously. This is also the reason I leave them in there, is to identify some areas of sell-off. So for me, of great interest is indeed at these higher levels of 200, because I want to see bigger incremental values. But I'm not going to define that completely yet until we get to these areas, because then I can redefine the positions. How fast are these moving up? Are we going to see a repeat like we did back here in these two sections? You just don't know. Any news could come out in the next year or two around CBDCs, around quant, around crypto in general. So got to be aware for all of the aspects. And that's what I wanted to cover in this video, is to understand the mechanisms behind what's going on in the world, but also from a chart perspective, that it's not just about selling and buying, just like thinking about it like open-mindedly in that fashion. You have to be really strategic and understand the data points from the history of all of the moves of the chart to define where you're going to put your positions. And there is arguably the point that you can make that there is no right or wrong to where you're doing it, but I like to safeguard based on the experience that I've had with trading, because then you can dollar cost average your way in it. I have pure targets way above $1,000 for quant, but I know that in these positions now I can start accumulating without having to put my own capital in there. And if I do want to put capital in, it's going to be in new projects, token launches and stuff. So hopefully you found this interesting. Do let us know in the comments below if you're holding quant still, if you've been buying, selling. As I said earlier, let us know your comments about the whole entire infrastructure of CBDCs coming, good and bad. And we will indeed cover quant very soon again, and we'll see whether we got support here or resistance, and if we manage to hit either of these targets, up or down. Thanks for watching, guys. We will indeed see you in the next video. Bye-bye.